Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a great day, morning, night, whatever it is, wherever you are. As you know, a lot of the content on my YouTube channel is focused around the lifestyle of living with narcolepsy, which I was diagnosed with about 3 or 4 months ago now at this point, but have been dealing with for several years. And it is a significantly detracting and sometimes debilitating disorder, even for someone like myself who presents atypically, in that I rarely get sleep attacks and cataplexy and things like that. But my sleep requirements were anywhere from 11 to 15 hours a night, and just the sheer fatigue and exhaustion is kind of really impossible to explain to somebody who hasn't felt it. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way or in a, trying to act like I'm special or anything like that. It truly is something that is very hard to explain without being felt. The main reason being, in my overnight sleep study that I did, I slept for 9 hours with 98% efficiency. That means only 2% of the time was not sleeping during that 9 hours, and I showed zero deep wave stage 3 sleep, which is where your brain restores itself. So you can imagine without that how it can negatively affect your functioning. One of the big things for people with narcolepsy is a medicine called Xyrem, and it's something that causes a lot of angst, but it's something that offers a lot of hope at the same time. So Xyrem, let me just make sure I don't have any identifying information on here. Xyrem looks like this. It comes in a bottle. You filter out with a syringe, mix it up with water, put it in 2 different containers. You take one container when you go to bed, already laying in bed, ready to go to sleep. Set an alarm anywhere from 2.5 to 4 hours later, wake up, take the second one, go back to bed. So last night was my first night on Xyrem, and it's something that I've been looking forward to for a long time. It's also something I've been nervous about for a long time, because Xyrem is not without its complications and potential side effects, even potentially fatal ones. A lot of these side effects are very scary. The potential ones: psychosis, hallucinations, suicidal thoughts, agitation, respiratory issues, vomiting, loss of coordination, coma, seizure. It's a highly regulated drug for a reason. In addition to its use, historically, its major component, GHB, gamma hydroxybuterate, has historically been used as a date rape drug and an illegal sedative. So all of those things explain why it's so highly regulated and why it is something of a difficult topic for people, even people who have narcolepsy and know that their lives potentially could be changed by it. It's still something that is a very personal decision, and really, in my opinion, shouldn't be taken lightly, a decision like that, but something that causes a lot of stress. So, before I get into the details of it, how do I feel today after my first day on Xyrem? I feel good, and I mean that in a holistic way that I haven't been able to say that in a long time. I woke up today at 8:30 in the morning with no alarm. I was a little sleepy. I'm not going to say I woke up and I was full of Superman energy. But I woke up and I felt good, and that's actually an emotional thing for me because that hasn't happened in years. Even with armodafinil, which is a very strong stimulant, going to work every day and being at work, even if it wasn't at 8 o'clock, even if it was at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, waking up anytime before 10, 11, noon with stimulants, with tons of caffeine, still falling asleep at my desk at work, still struggling to even make the 25-minute drive to work. Even when I was traveling for work with other people taking classes, I was the first one to go to bed. I would never go out drinking or anything like that. once the complications happen, of course, I'm not going to say that I've never done those things, but I'm saying in the time that I've struggled, maintained good sleep hygiene, and for a while slept with a CPAP machine. I did all that, and I'd wake up, I'd have a cup of coffee in the hotel room. I'd go downstairs to the hotel breakfast. I'd drink 2 cups of coffee there. I'd make one to take on the road. Somebody else would drive. We'd go to our training class. I'd get there, and I'd immediately have another cup of coffee if the venue offered it. And then I'd have another one at lunch, and still falling asleep. So for me to be able to say that I woke up this morning at 8:30 in the morning, and my body didn't immediately try to pull me back into sleep is huge. One of my biggest problems, again, that people without sleep disorders may not understand the extent and complication of is sleep inertia, where when you sleep and you wake up from it, your body stays in that sleeping, I guess you would say, mode. And I would just wake up and literally, so I've been under anesthesia a few times. Daily, I was waking up feeling like I had been under anesthesia. And I would wake up, fall back asleep for 2 hours. Wake up again, fall back asleep for an hour. And that's how I would sleep 15 hours at a time, because I would just wake up with this lead feeling in my limbs and this total exhaustion. And today I woke up without it. And I feel pretty good. And there's a certain light and peace to the world when you're awake, like really awake, that even the stimulants didn't give me. And, maybe it's backwards. Maybe it's when you're never awake, there's a dull weight and sense of discomfort and dissociation and like a haze to the world when you're always right on the edge of your brain flipping that switch to go back to sleep. And being awake on a Saturday morning and having the morning sunlight coming in and actually feeling awake and feeling aware, and I don't feel like my head is swimming, and I don't feel like I'm having to think my way through fog, and I actually have a little bit of motivation to do things today, and I'm thinking clearly. That's amazing for me, especially day one. I had really high hopes for this medicine, but I tried to moderate it because average response time for improvement of sleepiness on this drug is 37 days, I believe, and average time for full response is almost 4 months. So, I tried not to expect too much from the first day, but and I could wake up tomorrow and all this could be gone. And that's always the danger with something like this. So I will follow up. But I just wanted to say that the ability to wake up like that was amazing. And I didn't spend all night in this like twilight half dream phase that I usually do, where I'm in sleep, I'm out of sleep, and I'm half aware of my body, and I don't know, it's hard to explain, but scientifically it's easily explained by the fact that I never go into deep sleep, and I always stay in these states of wakefulness between barely awake to going into REM sleep to going into light sleep. And with the Xyrem, it actually, there wasn't any of that, and I'm interpreting that as I'm getting the deep sleep that I never had before. So that's all really great. So now that that's out of the way, I want to talk about some of the other things I experienced on it. First of all, I had some crazy dreams. And I don't remember what they were, except I remember a little bit of the last one. But every time I would go back to sleep, I would forget the previous one, which is kind of new for me because with narcolepsy and REM intrusion, you kind of get crazy dreams anyways. I definitely have this significant feeling that they were more vivid, more in-depth, and longer. So that happened. Some people on Xyrem, they don't sleep at all. The first dose that I took at 11 o'clock last night. And there may have been a couple of issues because lately I've been going to bed at like 4 or 5 in the morning. I just haven't been tired enough to sleep before then. Common in people with narcolepsy. And I'd also taken my stimulants, ironically, so that I could be awake for the FedEx guy to come and drop off the Xyrem because it has to come straight to you, and I had to sign for it. And I think those stimulants kind of interfered with sleep a little bit. So the first dose was a little weird. I didn't actually get to sleep for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe. I'm guessing. I know it was beyond an hour for certain, because I got up to go to the bathroom at one point. It started to feel at first like a tingling over my body. In fact, it felt a lot like, for anybody who experiences sleep paralysis, it felt a lot like sleep paralysis slowly climbing up my body. If sleep paralysis made you feel kind of warm and tingly and buzzy and a little euphoric, but also a little like pressure, like something was kind of gently squeezing my limbs. It was a bizarre feeling for sure. I definitely remember when it would come across like my body and my chest, it felt really weird, and it would make me super self-aware of my breathing. At one point, it made me really giggly for no reason. I just started laughing and laughing for probably 2 or 3 minutes straight. I think another thing that kept me from going to sleep is about 3 hours before I took the medicine, I was out at dinner and I had a couple sodas, which I don't usually have. So no matter how much I went to the bathroom before I took my first dose, I ended up having to go again, and that's really difficult for me to sleep when I do. I didn't want to get up and go to the bathroom because I didn't know how I was going to handle the medicine, because it severely can affect motor function and everything. So I finally got up, I went to the bathroom. It was a little stumbly, but it wasn't like the room was spinning. My limbs were a little heavy. When I went from laying down to sitting up, there was definitely like a spinning feeling, and it felt like I had to reconnect with my body for a second, if that makes sense. I got up, walked to the bathroom, using my walls and my counter as a support just in case. Definitely sitting on the toilet, I leaned my head back at one point, and then I had like a vertigo rush and a little bit of nausea. But then I slowly stood back up, got up, washed my hands, came back to bed, laid back down. Had a little bit more of the weird body feelings. The best way I can explain it, and it's not a good way at all, is like there's my brain and my body, and they're usually connected. And with the Xyrem, it was like there was something in between. And it was like gatekeeping the feelings that I was having and sending its own signals instead. So it felt like, it definitely felt like things that I was feeling were being moderated or blocked off a little bit. And then I found a comfortable position and I laid back down. I definitely had a few moments where I was right on the borderline of falling asleep, and then the feelings from the Xyrem started to feel like heavy and almost like oppressive, a lot like sleep paralysis, and I jolted awake and I felt a little panic. And I think that those feelings can be a side effect of the Xyrem. So that was a little difficult to get past. And then once I was out, I was out. And then I woke up during my alarm, and I was groggy, and, I wanted to go back to sleep immediately, but I didn't have so much sleep inertia that I couldn't take my second dose. Took my second dose, I laid back down, and I was out for 6 hours. So I took it at 3, so I shouldn't say 6 hours. I took it at 3, I woke up at 8:35. And no alarm, my dream ended, I woke up. Still a little tired, kind of felt like maybe I could have laid in bed for a little while longer, but no sleep inertia, no feeling like I'm fighting off anesthetics or a heavy Benadryl dose. My body doesn't have that like stiff, tingling heaviness in it that I usually get associated with my fatigue. And there's a heavy, fuzzy feeling behind my eyes that I get when I'm tired that people with other sleep disorders have told me they understand, but not everybody else does. It follows me around constantly, and it has for years, on and off at least. And that's been mostly gone. So as a whole, it's been like I have a little bit of sleepiness left in me, and that's to be expected because even if this drug is working for me, I've got months of sleep debt of having no deep sleep that my body's going to have to catch up on. But there's a difference between exhaustion and fatigue and tired. And I feel like what I feel today, first of all of it's better. But what I do feel today is more tired than exhausted. And that's a major change for me. And I hope that keeps up. Because the drug is a life changer for a lot of people. And I've watched a lot of things go by in my life while I was in this kind of haze of exhausted and sedated and sluggish and foggy and disoriented. And I've lost my ability to continue doing the job that I loved. And I lost my ability to keep up with my hobbies and even keep up with all of my living responsibilities. I've lost opportunities with friends. I've lost time with family. So if I could feel all the time, even half the time, like I felt just since I woke up this morning, it would be the single biggest quality of life improvement that I've had since any of this started happening to me. So, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. I believe the internet is one of the fundamentally most important, most beneficial sources of open source information out there. So I wanted to put my experience out there because there's a lot of people who might have to make this decision. You know, narcolepsy is a rare disorder. 1 in 2,000 people they estimate have it, but 1 in 2,000 people in just my country, the United States, of over 300 million. It's a pretty significant number of people who might have to make that same choice. And I really firmly believe that the more information is out there, the more people can take power over their own medical decisions. And at least even when there is something like this that has medical risks involved, and anybody who goes on Xyrem knows there's medical risks involved. You can't not. You have to do a 45-minute counseling call with the manufacturer before they'll even ship it. But that everybody who does make that decision can have all the information available to make that decision themselves, for the risks they're willing to take and what they think is best for them. The only other thing that I think might be a little important to know so far that's coming to mind, taking Xyrem is a little weird. You have to drink it out of a medicine cup, a pill bottle. You mix it up and you put it in one of these, and you drink one before you go to bed. And you know it's got a locking lid, just like any other pill bottle. And the taste isn't great, and I imagine that's going to get worse as I go up. So I took 2.25 grams twice, and that's half the dose that I'm supposed to titrate to. We'll see if I go all the way, but the taste isn't great. When I was 5 years old, I had a tumor in this part of my jaw right here. I'm actually missing 3 teeth because of it. They cut it out, put a cadaver jaw in. That's long done. But what isn't gone and done is the taste of the saline solution I had to rinse with several times a day to keep the incision clean. So that was 19 years ago. I was 5. Drinking Xyrem, I swear, brought me back to the moment 19 years ago that I had to rinse with saline solution. It is salty and slightly sour and just generally not pleasant. But it's also not the worst thing in the world. Um, the manufacturer does not advise mixing it with things. I've read a lot of people mix it with Crystal Light and things like that. When I asked them directly that question, they did not recommend it. They said tap or bottled water only. My advice is don't sip it and don't shoot it. Just take it back. Just keep drinking, keep swallowing. Don't give time for the taste to build up in your mouth. And don't put it in your head, especially if you're someone with a sensitive gag reflex. It's notable. It's not ever something I would choose to drink for fun, but it's not as bad as some people say it is. So with that said, if you watched this whole video, thank you for watching, although I imagine you probably did it because you have the same questions I did, either for yourself or a loved one. But thank you anyways for spending your time watching this, hearing what I have to say about it. I genuinely, for the first time in several months, I genuinely feel like there's some positivity in my treatment moving forward. And I hope that that continues. And if anything changes, or even if I get stabilized and it continues in this manner, as I hope it does, I'll continue to update. So for anybody who does follow me for narcolepsy, lifestyle stuff, make sure to subscribe or just check back to the channel so that you can kind of get an update of where I'm at on it, if that's the type of thing that you'd like to consider. So whether it's you dealing with narcolepsy or you're here learning for a loved one, I wish you all the best. I hope that you find something that gives you your energy and your zest back and relieves you of some of this haze that most of us carry with us. And if you're just here to learn about the condition, thank you for taking the time to do that. And I'll see you around for another video, hopefully. Thanks.